Today on Public Eye News, trains in Canada halt across as union workers strike and a plane crashes in China with 131 people on board.
Later, Ava Sohoyan will have your weather and Michael Cudahy will have your sports. Hi, I'm Madeline Plattenberg.
And I'm Michael Cudahy, and this is Public Eye News. Adam Fox, one of the men on trial in the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer, recently had evidence introduced against him. The evidence in question was a text message that talked about lynching Governor Whitmer and asking if any in the group chat were ready to roll out. An FBI informant was questioned for the trial recently, which is how the text came to light. The 4 defendants were arrested a few days after the text was sent as the group was trying to get a hold of explosives for the kidnapping plot. And former Governor Rick Snyder is going to have to testify in the civil suit regarding the water crisis in Flint. The lawsuit is about an engineering firm's liability for the Flint water crisis. The district judge on the case denied motions to overturn subpoenas to have the former governor and others testify. The former governor's attorneys have said that Rick Snyder will use his Fifth Amendment rights if called on as a witness. This lawsuit is in civil court and does not include those in the $626 million settlement between the state of Michigan and multiple parties.
Supreme Court hearings opened Monday by the Senate Judiciary Committee. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is the first black woman nominated for the nation's highest court. Jackson will be introduced on Monday by Thomas B. Griffith, a retired judge for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, and Lisa M. Fairfax, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School. Jackson plans to give her opening statement later Monday, answering questions Tuesday and Wednesday from a panel of 22 Democratic and Republican senators. Janet McCarthy Wallace said she's excited to see a black woman on the verge of a high court seat. And in Eastland, Texas, scorching wildfires continue through parts of the state on Monday. A much-needed relief may be underway, according to forecasters, as a rainstorm system moves through, bringing strong winds. The fires have caused 2 deaths of firefighters in both Texas and Oklahoma. The Eastland complex is the largest of the fires, burning nearly 85 square miles in an area around 120 miles west of Dallas, and was 30% contained by Sunday. Monique Sellers, National Weather Service meteorologist, told the Dallas Morning News that about an inch of rain was predicted Monday in Eastland County. Any given year, farmers face many challenges, from drought to storms that destroy crops. Now some farms are moving indoors and going high-tech. CBS News' Laura Podesta takes us on a tour.
We'll have you throw this on right here.
Great. I suited up in a hairnet and lab coat, then wrapped up my feet.
Perfect.
To step into a futuristic farm.
So this was the first farm ever built by Bowery.
Bowery farming executive Katie Sewell showed us this indoor vertical farm in Kearney, New Jersey, where greens grow in special trays stacked floor to ceiling. LED lighting replaces the sun. The process uses 95% less water than traditional farming, and there's no threat of bad weather or bugs.
We are able to grow pesticide-free produce 365 days a year.
The company places these facilities close to urban areas. This one is just 10 miles from New York City.
We are able to harvest and get our product on shelf in your local grocery store in 72 hours.
Bowery is not alone. Several companies are starting similar farms around the world. BIS research predicts the global industry will grow from $5.5 billion to nearly $20 billion in 2026.
Do you see any drawback to these indoor farms?
The main drawback that I can see with indoor farms is they do use a lot of energy.
Professor Neil Mattson studies agriculture at Cornell University and says all that power can be a big fossil fuel drain.
If they're not tied to renewable energy, their carbon footprint is higher than growing in a field.
Bowery says the power for this building comes from renewable hydroelectricity. The company grows herbs and leafy greens for harvest at the height of freshness. And strawberries are now starting to hit the market.
Whoa.
And other fruits and vegetables could eventually move inside, expanding the produce of this unique farming process. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Kearney, New Jersey.
And don't touch that dial. Ava Sohoyan will be back with your weather update right after this.
I want to make the best bow out of that piece of wood. I want to do it justice.
Cajunism. It's a way of life, and it's a vision that people have of who they are.
I sat there thinking, this is begging to be turned into a piece of music.
Appalachia has deep musical roots. The craftsmanship is some of the best in the world.
Tonight at 9 on WNMU-TV.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Ava Sahoyan here with your weather update today. Looking behind me at NMU's campus, you can see we've got some cloudy skies and possibly some snow incoming. Right now in Marquette, it's cloudy with a 60% chance of snow, a current temperature of 34 degrees, winds out of the east-southeast at 10 miles per hour, and a barometric pressure of 30.26 inches and falling. Looking across the Upper Peninsula, starting in Sault Ste. Marie, we have cloudy skies and degree of 44 degrees. Manistique, 42 degrees. Escanaba, 39. Menominee, 38. Going over to Iron Mountain, it is 40 degrees. Ironwood, 43. Houghton, 38. And in beautiful Marquette, it is 34 degrees. Looking into later tonight, we're expecting cloudy skies, a low of 31, and winds out of the north at 8 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we're expecting rain and snow showers, a high of 35, a low of 31, and winds out of the east-southeast at 10 miles per hour. Now let's look into later this week. Starting on Wednesday, we have a high of 34, a low of 32, and snow showers. Thursday, we're also expecting snow showers, a high of 35 and a low of 30. On Friday, we're expecting cloudy skies, a high of 40 and a low of 24. And up next is international news.
Members have gone on strike after missing the midnight deadline. The company, Canada Pacific Railway. The Teamsters made two statements over the weekend, initially saying that the employees had been locked out, but now saying that the organization is on strike. CP Rail says that they wanted to keep negotiating after the midnight deadline that they had set, but that the union decided to stick to CP Rail's deadline. The two sides are negotiating with a federal mediator, as CP Rail is the second largest railroad operator in Canada. And a plane crashed in a remote part of China carrying 131 individuals. The plane was a Boeing 737. The crash has even started a forest fire visible from space. And at the time, there is no word on survivors. Chinese President Xi Jinping called for an all-out effort in the rescue attempt. All Boeing 737s were grounded in eastern China, the place of the crash. And as Russia's war on Ukraine enters a fourth week, Russian forces continue to tighten their grip on the port city of Mariupol, with more devastating attacks, including one on an art school that was said to be housing several hundred people. Around the country, Ukrainians continue to defend the nation and hold back Russian ground forces in major cities, including the capital of Kyiv. CBS's news correspondent Tom Hansen has the latest from New York.
Rescuers search for survivors at a Ukrainian Marine barracks destroyed in an apparent rocket attack. While Russia is also bombarding civilian sites nationwide, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tells CNN he remains ready to negotiate.
But if these attempts fail, that would mean that this is a third world war.
Ukrainian authorities say more devastation came to Mariupol after Russian forces bombed an art school where some 400 residents had taken shelter. Last week, Russia blew apart this theater housing civilians, even with the word children written outside the structure in Russian. Some survivors have been pulled from the rubble. The U.S. and other Western nations have expressed concern Russia may use a biological or chemical weapon, then blame it on Ukraine.
I think if a chemical or biological weapon was used, you'd see a significant reaction from not only the United States, but also the global community.
China's ambassador to the U.S. was asked about President Biden's warning to Chinese leader Xi Jinping against aiding the Russian war effort.
Are you saying Beijing will not provide financial support to Moscow to prolong this war?
China has normal trade, economic, financial, energy cooperations with Russia.
President Biden is planning to travel to Brussels this week for a summit with other NATO leaders. Tom Hansen, CBS News.
After this break, Michael Cudahy will be back with your sports.
On Finding Your Roots, Angelica Houston.
No idea that she was living this kind of life.
Mia Farrow.
It's much worse than I thought it would be.
And Isabella Rossellini.
She always said that she didn't want to have roots.
Ancestry uncovers a painful past.
I see why my father never mentioned his father now.
As DNA reveals.
You want to meet this person?
A surprise.
That's hysterical.
Finding Your Roots.
Tuesday night at 8 on WNMU-TV.
And welcome back. Lights out and away they went yesterday in Bahrain as the Formula One season started with quite the exciting race. We saw Haas driver Mick Schumacher do a 360 on the opening lap after taking contact from Alpine driver Esteban Ocon. The new regulations were designed to promote more wheel-to-wheel racing, and they did not disappoint in the first race. We saw Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen go wheel-to-wheel, with Leclerc and Ferrari getting the win. Verstappen had to retire from the race in the final laps due to car issues, whereas his teammate Sergio Perez had to retire his car on the final lap due to his engine giving out. Leclerc won the race with Ferrari teammate Carlos Sainz coming in second, and with the double Red Bull retirement, that allowed Lewis Hamilton to grab third. And moving on to the Sweet 16 in March Madness, we have surprise 15-seed St. Peter's still in the tournament after beating 2-seed Kentucky and 7-seed Murray State, and will now play Purdue. Michigan takes on 2-seed Villanova, and UCLA will face North Carolina instead of Baylor after that surprising upset. Gonzaga has dominated the tournament so far, but will now play Arkansas, and if victorious, they will likely play the Duke Blue Devils, but could play the Texas Tech Red Raiders instead. Arizona will play Houston, and Kansas will play Providence, with the winner of the Kansas and Providence game playing the winner of the Iowa State and Miami game. And 3 p.m. was the NHL trade deadline today, which was fairly action-packed. We saw Rickard Rakell traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins for a second-round pick and a prospect who at the time of writing is yet to be named. Former Penguins goalie Marc-Andre Fleury was dealt from Chicago to the Minnesota Wild for a conditional second-round pick that could become a first if the Wild win 2 playoff series. We also saw Tyler Mott and Andrew Kopp being traded to the New York Rangers for draft picks, with many more smaller deals also being done today. And Madeline, I hear you have an additional story for us today. You care to tell us anything about that?
Yeah, so Northern Michigan University's Native American Student Association and the Center for Native American Studies are planning to host Pow Wow 102, Learning to Walk Together While Apart. This event is being held Saturday, March 26th at 1 p.m. via Zoom and over NASA's Facebook Live at NMU NASA. The event is free and registration is not required. Donations are encouraged. The powwow will include an educational breakdown of traditional Native American powwows with demonstrations by dancers and talks on a range of topics by traditional advisors.
Well, that seems pretty interesting. March 26th, you said?
Yeah, at 1 p.m. via Zoom.
Alrighty then, that's amazing. You can take part from your living room or anywhere else and still participate. That's very nice. Anything from the news jump out at you today?
It was just the first day of spring a few days ago.
Yeah, and it looks like we already have some snow showers coming in, which that's never fun to see during spring.
No, it's not. I've been seeing a lot of grass.
Yeah, you like to see grass, you like to see the flowers start to bloom, you like to see the trees getting bigger. And that's all the time we have for you today. I'm Michael Cudahy.
And I'm Madeline Plattenberg.
And this was Public Eye News.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.